Editing can seem complex, but really it comes down to just a few simple techniques which make it possible to tell any story. So these are the 5 cuts you need to make any edit. First up, the hard cut. This is probably exactly what you imagine when I say cut. It's one thing instantly changing to another thing. This is used in dialogue scenes, scene changes, and almost any time you want to change from one thing to another. It may seem simple, and it is, but it's the foundation of almost every scene in cinema. Editing is simple. While it may seem complex, it really just comes down to a lot of hard cuts like this. In fact, I reckon 90% of the cuts you see are hard cuts. You can learn to do this in any editing software in less than 10 minutes. And once you have, most of editing comes down to you telling the story. But there are probably a few other techniques you should learn too. Moving on to the jump cut. This is like the hard cut, except it cuts to a future point of the same shot or a very similar shot. Jump cuts are used a lot less than hard cuts, but they're sometimes used to show the passage of time or just to cut back to see more of a scene. Jump cuts that cut back and forward along one axis are called axial jump cuts, while jump cuts that cut back and forward in time are called temporal jump cuts. But what about when you want to cut to another scene entirely? A match cut is when you cut to a completely different scene with a similar subject. It can be used to make a transition more interesting, but it can also be used to associate the first scene with the second. Possibly the most famous example of a match cut is in 2001: A Space Odyssey. The shot changes directly from a bone to a spaceship. Another example is in Pirates of the Caribbean. We cut directly from Elizabeth closing her eyes to opening her eyes, and it tells us that she was thinking about that day while smoothing over the transition. Match cuts can also fade into each other. This makes the transition even smoother while still focusing on one specific object. But if you want the smoothest transitions, you'll need to use one of these last 2 shots. The J and L cuts are used to make transitions extra smooth. Basically, the J cut is where you have the audio of the next shot start before the visuals. This makes the transition look like a J shape. And L cuts are the opposite. This allows for shots to flow together smoothly. Now, this is normally where I'd show a whole bunch of examples from real movies. But when planning this video, it was really hard to find good examples, just because there are so many, but they're all really small and almost unnoticeable. Often a little J or L cut won't be very noticeable, and that's the point. They're designed not to be noticed. But next time you watch a movie, watch out for these cuts and see if you can tell how they're being used to tell the story. And those are the only 5 shots you need to tell any story. But if you want to find out about some filmmaking advice which could actually be ruining your films, watch this video next.